your mic. How's your mic? Oh, the one that just got thrown.
Is that yours?
That's
all right.
It's not typical. Typically, I would put that.
Hey, good to see you.
What is up, hooligans? Happy freedom. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Hooligans, where we try to make the news suck a little less. Please take a second to hit that like button. More likes, more hooligans. Let me know how you're doing in the chat. Drop a 1 if you can see me and see me and hear me clearly. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Obviously, we're starting off with the White House press briefing. Sure, KJP will be staggering out at any point. Then, of course, we have more videos and stuff to cover after the lies from the podium. I'm trying to flip through the chat really quick, make sure everything is running. Peter Ducey's there today. He was gone, and now he's just back every day. Good stuff. Oh, here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies for the late start. The administrator was meeting with the president, giving the president an update, and so we wanted to make sure we had her with us before we came out, given the day. So again, good afternoon, everyone. This morning, Hurricane Idalia made landfall in Florida as a major hurricane. Our administration is prepared to support any needs that may arise as Idalia moves through Florida and into Georgia. Personnel and resources from across the federal government and from our voluntary and nonprofit partners are ready to assist. Later today, the American people will hear directly. They will hear directly from the president. He will speak about our efforts to respond to Hurricane Idalia, and our ongoing commitment to help the residents of Maui recover after the tragic wildfires earlier this month as well. But before I turn it over to the FEMA administrator for an update on Hurricane Idalia, we want to make sure all of those experiencing the effects of Idalia are on the path to make sure that they are staying safe. If you're experiencing hurricane wind, storm surge, and flooding, don't venture outside. Listen to warnings of local officials and shelter in place. Do not enter floodwaters since there can be flooding. Don't freeze. If you are in the projected path of the hurricane, please remain alert, closely monitoring any changes to its path. Listen to local and state officials for guidance and evacuation notices, and finish your preparedness. The president and our entire administration are committed to supporting all communities impacted by the hurricane. We will be with you every step of the way, as we have been when we have to deal with these types of disastrous situation, hurricanes, extreme weather. This is an administration that will be with this community from before it started, as you all know, from what you heard from the president earlier this week, and also the administrator after it hits, and we will be there until they are able to rebuild. With that, Administrator Criswell, welcome back.
All right, good morning, everybody, and thanks, Corrine, and I'll just jump right in. I did just have an opportunity to brief the president on our current response efforts for Hurricane Idalia, which, as all of you know, made landfall early this morning. While we were in there, the president contacted Governor DeSantis to let him know that the federal family continues to be there to support him. The governor expressed that all of his needs are met currently. And the president reiterated that if anything is needed from the federal government, we will be able to support. And we have over 1,000 personnel currently deployed, prepared to support not just Florida, but all of our states that are in the path as needed. While I was in there, the president also directed me to travel immediately into the area, and I will be traveling later this afternoon to join Governor DeSantis tomorrow to do assessments and see firsthand what the impacts from this storm are, and I can be able to report back to the president exactly what I see, what we think the needs might be, and where the federal family can continue to assist. Before I touch more on Hurricane Idalia, I also want to address the second reason that I am here at the White House today. Today, I will also join President Biden alongside his cabinet and agency officials who are supporting the response and the recovery efforts on the ground in Hawaii as we continue to help the people of Maui rebuild and recover over the long term. This whole of government approach is what is needed to get the right resources to the people of Maui, the resources and the assistance that they need and that they deserve. Now back a little bit to what we know so far on Hurricane Idalia. While it is still too soon to assess the total damages, we know that the storm made landfall as a Category 3, which means over 120 mile per hour winds and up to 10 inches of rain in some areas. Peak storm surge in some places along the coast. It has peaked right now, but it could surpass once they measure over 15 feet of storm surge. And we'll get exact numbers as they're able to go in and assess what the total storm surge was. And in fact, Idalia is the strongest storm to hit this part of Florida, to make landfall in this part of Florida in over 100 years. But FEMA and the entire Biden-Harris administration, we were prepared and we were ready to support the needs of this storm. As I mentioned, we have actually over 1,500 federal responders that are on the ground in the affected area. This includes over 300 personnel from FEMA, as well as over 500 urban search and rescue personnel ready to support any of the state's requests. As of 7:30 this morning, and I know these numbers are dynamic and fluid, but as of 7:30 this morning, there are nearly 300,000 customer outages for power in Florida, and we do expect those numbers to continue to rise as the storm passes through and goes into Georgia, and we'll see power outage numbers for Georgia, South Carolina, and perhaps North Carolina. Our partners at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers are pre-positioned to support power restoration, and they have over 30 generators that are pre-staged. Additionally, the utilities are preparing for storm impacts, including pre-staging crews and equipment outside of the projected storm track. And the state anticipates a total of about 30,000 to 40,000 linemen in Florida to begin to assist in the power restoration efforts. People that are still in the storm's path, however, as you heard from Corrine, they should not venture out into the storm and remain sheltering in place if your local officials are telling you to do so. However, if you are in trouble and you need immediate assistance, please call 911. As you do go out, do not wade in the water. Do not drive through flooded roads and streets. Just remember, turn around, don't drown. Unfortunately, we see so many fatalities after the storm passes. We want to make sure that everybody is taking the right precautions to keep themselves safe. And as always, please continue to listen to your local officials as this storm continues to pass over Georgia currently and into South Carolina. Please check on your friends and your family and your loved ones, especially older adults and people living with disabilities, to see if they have any needs. In closing, I just want to remind people that this is still very much an active situation. Remnants of the storm are still affecting Florida as we speak. The storm is over Georgia and moving into South Carolina. People there and in the Carolinas will continue to experience impacts throughout the day today and possibly into the weekend. Again, FEMA is well postured with our federal partners to support Floridians during this time of need and stands ready to support other affected states as needed. With that, I can take any questions.
It's interesting she didn't talk about how the fuel in Florida was accidentally contaminated with diesel fuel.
Since you just said it's too early right now to assess the extent of damage in Florida?
Yeah, my biggest concern is those people who chose not to evacuate, and I know that our local first responders, the heroes that are out there in those local communities, are doing an amazing job already of going into the areas where people did not evacuate and helping to get them to safety. I think that is our priority through the day today, is to make sure that everybody is safe after this storm has passed. As we go into the next few days, we're going to want to assess what the total amount of damage is and see what immediate needs need to be put forth in order to...
Oh, CL baby, I have a video that we're going to watch that has to do with the Maui stuff. I have the Does fence that we were talking about yesterday, and then we have a fact list of coincidences happening on Maui.
That he gave to you other than to fly down to Florida. And then secondly, you said that Governor DeSantis is satisfied with the federal response, doesn't need anything additional. Was there anything else discussed on that call?
Yeah, the president's main concern is making sure that we are bringing everything that we have in to support these states as they're having immediate response and life-saving needs, or beginning to start their assessment and their recovery process. I think it's incredibly important that our governors know that we are ready and postured to bring in all federal resources to support any of their life-saving and their life-sustaining needs in the very near future. The conversation with Governor DeSantis was that, reiterating the fact that we already have over 1,500 personnel there in the area to be able to support, and the governor currently has no unmet needs, but as we begin to assess, right, as the governor assesses and as I get on the ground tomorrow to assess, we'll see what additional needs might be there and if any of those resources need to be employed or we need to move more into the area.
Has the president spoken yet with the governors of Georgia or South Carolina as well, or any plans for that to happen?
I believe he was preparing to contact them after I left so I could come to this briefing.
Good, Jeff.
Thank you. Administrator, to what extent do you attribute climate change as a cause of this storm and the other weather events that we're seeing over the last weeks and months?
Yeah, I'm not going to attribute the cause of the storm, but what I can say is that we are seeing an increase in the number of severe weather events. And what we saw with this storm, as we have seen with several of our hurricanes over the last few years, is that they are intensifying more rapidly due to the elevated heat of the water temperature in the Gulf or in the Pacific, or whether it's in the Atlantic. These storms are intensifying so fast that our local emergency management officials have less time to warn and evacuate and get people to safety. This is something that we have to take into consideration as we build our preparedness plans, as our local communities build their preparedness plans on how they're going to communicate and prepare their communities for the types of storms that they're going to face in the future.
Secondly, more specifically on this storm, do you have any sense, or is it too early now to say what the cost of recovery will require or will be?
Yeah, it's far too early to even estimate what the cost is. It's still unsafe in many parts to even go out. That's what's going to happen over the next several days, is to really get a good understanding, an initial estimate of what we think the costs will be and what the amount of impact to these communities has been.
Absolutely.
Just to follow on that, with what you've seen so far, how long do you think it will take to get that full assessment, and how long will it take to understand the costs of the recovery efforts?
Yeah, we have rapid assessment teams that have been pre-positioned, ready to go out as soon as it's safe to do so. And so those are personnel that will integrate in with the state personnel to go see what the damages are. But we also use technology, right? We use aerial imagery and satellite technology, and we use our geospatial information to get a better idea, so we don't have to physically put people out there, and it allows us to make these types of decisions much quicker than we've been able to in the past. And so, again, it will take several days to get a full understanding of what the initial assessment, damage assessment is, but it will take longer to get the full picture of the total amount of impact to these communities.
And yesterday you had said that FEMA's disaster relief fund was running low. With what we've seen from this storm so far, there's also the Maui fires. Do you think there's enough funding? Are you confident there's enough if there's another extreme weather event in the next month?
Yeah, so yesterday, as I announced, I directed my personnel to implement what we call immediate needs funding, and that prioritizes the remaining funding within the disaster relief fund to support those life-saving efforts. I believe through this effort we have plenty of funding to be able to support our ongoing efforts in Maui, as well as this event, to include Florida, Georgia, South Carolina as needed. But we are monitoring it very closely, right? Every day we are looking at what the cost of these storms are as we approach the end of this fiscal year, and if we have another storm, we're going to have to closely monitor what impact that's going to have and any other actions we might have to take.
You just said a whole bunch of nothing.
Sure, thank you for being here as we do approach the end of the fiscal year, as you just noted, just getting a little bit down the road. These take weeks, months to recover. FEMA's involvement will go on for quite a long time. Back in 2013, when there was a government shutdown, FEMA had to furlough its non-essential staff right now. What potential impact would a government shutdown, as lawmakers have considerations about whether to fund the government, have on FEMA's ability to care for those in both Maui and in Florida?
I mean, we always want to take account to what our personnel are doing and how rents. A government shutdown does not impact our personnel that are funded through the Disaster Relief Fund, and so they're able to continue operating and supporting all of the immediate efforts and life-saving efforts that continue to go on. And we also, for our other staff, can designate our emergency essential personnel to support any life-saving efforts. And so we have plans in place, as we have gone through this before, on how we would staff our agency to continue to support those efforts.
If I can follow up about the critical needs assistance that was provided to those in Maui, $700. in payments to individuals there, given the cost of living in Hawaii, specifically in the Lahaina community. Is anything being done right now? Are there considerations or efforts being made to try to raise that cap, that $700 figure for those who are there?
Yeah, the $700 figure of critical needs assistance is really just that amount of funding for some of the very immediate needs that individuals have. Every year, the main part of our assistance, which is our individual and household program, adjusts annually based on inflation. This year, it's $41,000 of a cap that individuals can get. That will get raised after the fiscal year. I don't know what that number is yet, but we do adjust that main portion of the funding that goes to individuals annually based on inflation.
So 700 is it for now, and then they can pursue those other monies going forward. But if people have run through that money right now, they're on their own until they get access to the further assistance coming.
Yeah, and we already have, I think it was 12,000 individuals that registered for assistance in Maui, and somewhere over $15 million that's out on the street. That number could be higher right now from that other program.
Thank you. I know that you and the governor and local officials, state officials have all told people they get out of the way of this storm. So my first question is, are you satisfied that people heeded those calls, both from you and local and state officials? And then secondly, you mentioned the search and recovery teams that are sort of deployed and ready to go. What's your assessment so far on what those needs look like if people are sort of stranded right now?
Yeah, so on the first question, I think many people did heed the warning, but unfortunately many did not. Right, we're already getting reports of people that chose to stay, and they're getting calls into the local first responders to come in and assist them. And if anybody needs assistance, they should call 911, and those local first responders will come in and help. As far as the entire footprint of those resources that are available, it's a combined effort, recognizing the capability that the state already has with all of their resources, and we have additional resources that are integrated in with that operation. So if we need to immediately augment, we have resources that are ready to deploy as soon as requested, without hesitation and without interruption.
But is it clear yet how many people may be stranded?
Oh, I don't have a number on how many, no.
From the initial assessment, what would you say are the most damaged areas, and what was the response from the population in those areas to the government's instructions?
I would say that initial reports are in that Big Bend area that have had the greatest impact. They have experienced the greatest amount of storm surge. They experienced the greatest wind speeds. And so when we do get out to start assessments, that would be my anticipation of where we would experience the greatest amount of damage and impact across Florida.
And how did people respond in those areas?
Again, I think many people did heed the warnings, and there was a lot of public messaging that went out there to let people understand that the danger is not just the cone of the hurricane, but it's the storm surge and the water, which is creating and causing the most fatalities in these events. But again, many people did not, as we are hearing about our first responders going in to support rescuing people from their homes that are now stranded.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up way in the back and then edge it.
Thanks. On the immediate needs funding, I'm curious if you have recognized the potential long-term ongoing recovery efforts that could be at risk here.
So if I understand the long-term recovery efforts based on right now, or what it looks like going into the next fiscal year?
Going into the next fiscal year, which ones are at risk here if you do not get the funding you need?
Yeah, so what immediate needs funding does is the work does not stop, right? The projects continue to go underway, our longer term recovery projects for the variety of disasters that we've experienced over the year. The obligation or the reimbursement of the funding for those is delayed into the next fiscal year. If it gets delayed into the next fiscal year, then that just starts us out at a smaller balance of what we had anticipated our needs would be for fiscal year 24.
Are there any ongoing efforts, though, that you've identified that would be at risk if it comes to that?
Again, the funding or the work itself does not stop. It's the funding that just gets delayed into the next fiscal year.
Last question.
I want to take you back to Hawaii, Administrator, because there's still a lot of questions among officials in Maui and Lahaina and across Hawaii about who was in charge in the hours as the fires burned and then the hours after. You're a veteran local emergency management official, state emergency management official now at the federal level. How do you assess how officials there responded? Are there lessons to be learned perhaps for other communities? And is your agency prepared to work with congressional Republicans if they launch investigations as they say they will?
Again, I was not there during the response, and so I would be out of line to assess how they responded during the time because I did not experience what they were experiencing. What the federal government does is we come in and we support their efforts, and that's exactly what we did, and we will continue to support their recovery and their rebuilding efforts as they move forward.
Were you being properly briefed by FEMA authorities in Hawaii that would have been working with those officials?
What I was briefed on throughout the time is my regional administrator, Bob Fenton, happened to be in Oahu for another meeting, and he was engaging with the team and giving us updates as to the spread of the fire and what the population was impacted and what the potential federal resources would be needed to come help support the initial response and the ongoing recovery efforts.
And if congressional Republicans want you or other agency officials to testify about what went on in Hawaii,
I'm happy to testify on what the federal role was in this process.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Safe
you.
travels tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. One thing before we continue. Thank again the administrator for coming today and yesterday to provide.
Shirt's looking a little baggy there, KJP.
Acting Labor Secretary Sue announced today the Department of Labor is supporting one of the basic tenets of Bidenomics, that a hard day's work should lead to a fair day's pay.
I can't tell if that's a maternity shirt or if she doesn't have the equipment to wear it.
And extending overtime protections to 3.6 million salaried workers, the Biden-Harris administration recognizes the benefits of a growing economy are only broadly shared when you have politics that empower workers. We'll continue working to build an economy that works for working families. The president and the vice president are committed to ensuring that all workers are paid fairly for their hard work. With that, Darlene, you want to kick us off?
Yes, thank you. Two questions. First, on Africa, the president had promised in December that he would visit this year. It's now September. A trip has not been announced. Just wondering if today's coup in Gabon, the recent coup in Niger, and others in recent years make it any less likely that he will visit? How will those destabilizing events factor into whether he ultimately goes or not?
So as you asked me about if there's any U.S. concerns, domino effect potentially, as we're seeing what's happening over the last couple of months or so, look, we remain focused on working with our African partners and the people to address challenges and support democracy. That is something that certainly the president is steadfast on, which is also the best foundation for development, social cohesion and stability in Africa. President Biden has been clear about the United States' commitment to deepen and expand our partnership between the United States and African countries, institutions, and people as well. We stand with the African people in working towards these goals. I don't have anything to...
When are you going to stand with the American people? When are you going to do that?
For this year, the president is still very much committed to going to the continent.
He's got chlamydia.
Has been there. The First Lady has been there.
Oh, he's committed. Okay.
Throughout, and also other secretaries clearly in this administration. So you've seen a commitment from us for the continent. We had a very successful, as you all know, meeting with African leaders just last winter. That went very well, and that commitment continues. As soon as we have a date and a location clearly laid out, we certainly will share that with all of you.
And then a second question closer to home. Will the president stay in Washington this weekend, given what's going on in Florida? We don't know the extent of damage. The week ahead had him leaving on Friday to go home to Rehoboth.
As you just heard directly from the administrator, we do not have an assessment. Obviously, she's going to be going to Florida tomorrow at the president's direction, and she will be with Governor DeSantis throughout the day. I can confirm before coming out here, the president did connect with Governor Kemp, the governor of Georgia, obviously, and so that conversation did happen. He's also going to try and connect with the governor of South Carolina. As the administrator said, the situation is still very dynamic. I don't have any changes or any additions to the president's travel. You're going to hear from the president directly, who's going to speak about the continued efforts to prepare and respond to Hurricane Idalia. Following those remarks, as you all know, he's going to be meeting with his cabinet and agency officials to continue our coordination of federal response. So that will happen. He will always continue to be engaged directly with local elected elected officials. We just mentioned that he spoke to the governor of Florida, spoke to the governor of Georgia. He's going to reach out to certainly other elected officials to ensure they have what they need on the ground, the resources that they need to deal with the impacts, certainly the aftermath of this particular hurricane, when we are able to assess and see and they are able to see what their needs are. You hear us say this often. You heard it from the administrator. You've heard this from us. This president is committed to being there for the community, for the people who are certainly have been impacted by this hurricane. Today, tomorrow, as long as it takes to help them all get back on their feet. So that will not change, obviously. Catch up.
Thanks, Karine. Two foreign policy questions. The Kremlin acknowledged today that the plane crash that killed Prigozhin may have been a deliberate act. Does the White House have a response to that?
So, I was, kind of asked this question yesterday. I don't have any new assessment or anything to share with what the Kremlin or Russia, the government may have shared. What I have said yesterday continues to be the case. It seems pretty evident what happened here. As the president said recently, and I'll quote him, "There's not much that happens in Russia that Putin is not behind," and that was not just predictable, but it was predicted. Very same words I used yesterday. So we all know that Kremlin has a long history in killing its opponents. We know how forthcoming and if I will, forthright Prigozhin was in these past several weeks or couple of months, and so this is not surprising. I just don't have any new assessment, regardless of what the Kremlin or the government of Russia wants to share.
On a separate topic, Nigerian police raided a gay wedding and arrested 67 people there today. Wondering if the White House is tracking that and has a reaction.
So this is the first I'm hearing of that. I haven't spoken to our teams here about that particular incident. Look, we've been very clear. The president, when it comes to LGBTQ community, he has been an ally and supports that community. He will continue to do so. He will always speak out when it comes to any type of humanitarian, mistreatment, even across the globe. And he has always been very forthright in talking to leaders about that as it relates to this particular event. I just don't have a comment for you at this time. Catch you.
Thanks, Karine. There's a report in Bloomberg that the Assistant Secretary of Health has recommended rescheduling marijuana as a Schedule III drug. I'm wondering if the president would support that move, and secondly, just where does the president currently stand on the issue of decriminalizing marijuana?
So look, the president actually asked the Secretary of HHS and also the Attorney General to initiate the administrative process to review how marijuana is scheduled. As you know, the administration process is an independent process led by HHS.
They got their marijuana on a schedule.
And guided by evidence, so not
microdosing.
That. We're going to let that process move forward. And again, it's going to be an independent process that's led by HHS and DOJ. So any specifics on that, I would refer you to HHS.
And more broadly on the question of decriminalizing, which would be going further than this?
Look, he's asking HHS and DOJ to take a look at it, to do an initial administrative kind of process or review, if you will. It's going to be an independent process. They're going to certainly use the evidence. It's going to be guided by evidence. And so I'm going to leave it to HHS and DOJ to move that process, and so we're just not going to comment specifically on that.
The president's about just over a week away from heading off to India for the G20. He's scheduled to be in Rehoboth this weekend. Given all of those scheduling concerns, how likely is it that the president would make it down to Florida before heading abroad? Is that a goal of his that he would like to try and get down there before he goes out of the country?
So look, don't have any schedule additions or travel to add at this time or to share at this time. Clearly, as you just heard, the administrator is going to go there tomorrow, is going to be with the governor, and that is at the president's direction. When it comes to any type of travel, as it relates to certainly these types of unfortunate disasters, the president doesn't want to take away clearly from what's going on the ground. As you know, the president has a big footprint when he travels, so we want to make sure that the community, the elected officials, the local leaders, certainly the people have and get what they need in this time after we have the assessment and we see the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia. So don't have anything to share. Clearly, it's something that the president always looks forward and always wants to be there for the people who are affected by these types of disasters, and certainly you've seen him in many different states be there and talk directly to Americans who are there and living through this moment. But we just want to be incredibly mindful. This is a dynamic situation, and we want to make sure they have everything that they need at this time. Okay.
Obviously, lots of issues facing the presidency this week, but two others that sort of gauge the sense of presidential awareness or involvement. You were asked yesterday about the situation in Guatemala. I noticed the Secretary of State reiterated support for the results there. Is that something that's reached the president's attention, who has expressed a lot of concern about democracy versus autocracies in the world? This is a situation 2 doors down from the United States. Is he aware of it, and would he be willing to meet with Mr. Arevalo were he to come to Washington before becoming president?
So look, the president obviously is kept up to date by his National Security Council and his foreign policy advisors on all of any dynamic or any situations globally. Clearly, that is something that the president is kept abreast. I just don't have anything to share on any future upcoming meeting at this time. As you know, we congratulated the new leader and clearly, his election was confirmed by the certified vote results, and so just don't have anything to share or anything to announce about a potential meeting.
You were also asked yesterday about potential White House involvement, or at least awareness of the UAW labor situation. How about the Writers Guild, Screen Actors Guild negotiations? We're at about day 120 plus with the writers, 47 plus with SAG-AFTRA. These are members and these are companies that have close, at least political ties to this president. Just curious if he's been briefed at all or talked to anybody involved in those, or who in the administration might be talking to them.
I mean, look, regardless of political ties, right? This is a president that has been called by many labor folks, right? That he is the most pro-union president ever, and so this is a president.
We need a pro-American president.
This is a president that believes certainly
Make
of
America
the right
great
of
again.
workers to strike. We've been very clear about that. And as it relates to the writers and also the actors, we believe they have the right to be able to ask for fair wages and fair benefits. That's why collective bargaining is so important, and we have seen it worked. Over even the past several years, while this president has been president during his tenure. So that's what the president's going to continue to call for folks to come to the table in good faith, have those conversations, do that collective bargaining that the president supports. And so I don't have anything else beyond to share. But again, this is the most pro-union president, and he is incredibly proud of that record.
In the hours and days ahead, how frequently does President Biden intend to get briefed on the storm?
Regularly, daily. Multiple times a day. You're going to hear from him in a few minutes. You heard the administrator was here today briefing him. She was here yesterday in person briefing him. This is something that the president is keeping a very close eye on. As all of you are following this very closely, this is important. It doesn't matter if we are this is not about politics. We should take politics out of any type of disaster that we see that the American people are having to suffer or deal with. And so this is not about politics. This is for the president. This is about being a president for all Americans. And so he is going to be closely watching this, getting updated regularly to make sure that the people in Georgia, in South Carolina, in Florida are getting exactly what they need. And so that's going to be the president's focus.
Thanks, Corinne. I wanted to ask about a possible government shutdown. Some conservatives have been on the Hill, have been talking about it not being a big deal, that no one will really notice. Can you talk a little bit specifically about what would continue to work during a shutdown and what would stop?
So look, I appreciate the question. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. Here's what we know, and here's what I have said when I've been asked this question. It is that there's absolutely no reason at all for Congress to shut down the government. There isn't. And this is a question for Congress to answer. This should not be happening. And they should fund these vital government programs that the American people rely on. And these are critical needs we've requested. When you think about what we've requested and asked for when it comes to emergency funding, right? When it comes to what we came to the table for when it comes to the budget agreement, this was a bipartisan agreement from both sides. And so there is no reason at all that Congress should be going down the path of shutting down this government.
Can you confirm, though, at least that federal criminal proceedings would continue in a shutdown, including those involving the former president?
You would have to ask the Speaker of the House and Congress on that question. That is not something that I can speak to here. You would have to reach out to Department of Justice. You would have to reach out to Congress, whatever it is that they're doing on that side. That is something for the Department of Justice to speak to. That is not something for me to speak to. But I will say that as it relates to the engagement that we have been having with the Hill on whether it is government funding or any kind of legislative process. Look, we have our OMB director, Shalonda Young, our legislative affairs office, have been in regular contact with them. We are engaging with congressional members on the Hill, and that's going to certainly continue.
I want to ask you quickly, President Biden awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal to two Fulton County election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. In the past, a federal judge today ruled in favor of those women who had sued Rudy Giuliani for defamation, ordering that the attorney that Giuliani pay sanctions. Just your thoughts on this now that it has been completed. It's no longer in the hands of the courts. The judge has delivered her ruling. What do you make of that?
I'm just not going to comment on that at this time.
Thanks, Doreen. Senate Minority Leader Mr. McConnell had another episode in which he froze while answering questions today. I know the president spoke to him the last time this happened and spoke to him when he has had previous health issues. Do you know if the president is aware of this and whether or not he's likely to?
I haven't spoken to the president, so I don't know if he's aware of this.
And then secondly, on Labor Day, I wanted to follow up to see if there are any announcements for how the president's going to mark Labor Day this year.
And just to step back on your question about Senator McConnell, clearly we wish him well, a speedy recovery. As you know, the two of them have worked together and have known each other for some time, but I can't speak to a call or a conversation. I just haven't asked the president about that. As it relates to Labor Day, clearly that's a day that the president enjoys celebrating, as it is an important day for the labor community. I just don't have anything to share. Once we get closer to that date, certainly we will lay out what the president plans to do.
At the beginning of June, the White House announced the Education Department was going to be appointing a coordinator to address book bans. I asked the Education Department for a status update and couldn't get an answer. So since we've got students returning to the classroom now, can you give us an update on when this effort is going to start?
So that is something for the Department of Education to speak to. I don't have an update for you on that particular question, but again, that's something for the Department of Education. I know they're going to announce somebody. I just don't have it right this time.
So they are going to be announcing someone?
I just don't have. I know they said that was announced that there was going to be a bookstore. I just don't have anything for you at this time.
Would it be possible at some point to get a description of what this coordinator has done, what schools they've reached out to, what that outreach has looked like?
Again, that's for something for Department of Education to speak to directly. Go ahead, Karen.
Thanks. New York Governor Kathy Hochul's meeting with Chief of Staff Jeff Zients today to discuss migration. Can you tell us a little bit more about that meeting? And then I have a follow-up to that.
Yep. So as you just mentioned, we are hosting Governor Hochul today here at the White House to continue our close collaboration and to underscore all the ways in which this administration has supported communities who are hosting asylum seekers and ways we are working together to increase access to work authorization. So we'll have more to share about the meeting later today. But yes, she is indeed here and is going to be meeting with members of the president's team.
I have another follow-up, but will there be a readout of that from the White House?
We will have more to share later today on the meeting. I just don't have anything specific on how that's going to look like.
And Hochul and other Democrats have been pushing the administration to expedite work authorizations for asylum seekers who are already here. Does the administration see that as a viable solution to getting people out of shelters faster?
So I'm not going to get ahead of the conversation that they're going to have. I do want to say that DHS met recently with state and local. This is the assessment team that you've heard us announce not too long ago. They met with local and state officials and to outline, and they outlined nearly 24 ways or recommendations to strengthen certainly their operations. The administration across several departments and agencies identified a number of federal sites across New York State for housing. Additionally, the Department of Interior is negotiating a lease of Floyd Bennett Field with the city and state. So that conversation that continues to happen. Again, that happened, I believe, on Monday. When it comes to the work authorization, look, this administration has led the largest expansion as it relates to pathways. Lawful pathways in decades, and we are committed to building a humane and safe and orderly immigration system. Those who arrive through those lawful pathways are immediately eligible to request an employment authorization document. That's how that process works. As it relates to this particular conversation and what has been requested by New York, I'm just not going to get ahead of the meeting that they're going to have today.
A couple of follow-ups on the spending questions that you got. Lawmakers are already sort of talking about a proposal that perhaps would be a CR.
Peter's writing down extra questions.
Is that acceptable to the president? Would he be okay with
That is something, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, that is something that
Come on now, just call him Peter. That's what we're here for.
decide on the length of a continuing resolutions. That's not something that I defer to them.
And then related to that, I know you said that the administration, Director Young, others are already engaged with lawmakers. Has there been an expression of sort of red lines, sort of priorities or cuts or provisions that would be unacceptable to President Biden that would not get signed into law?
So look, as I said, we have had continued calls with them, continued engagement with members of Congress to lay out the urgency and the important nature of making sure that we do not shut down and we continue funding the government. That's going to continue. I'm not going to get into red lines. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals from here. There is no reason for Congress to shut down the government, and we'll continue to be very, very clear about that. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. There's a new book coming, The Last Politician Inside Joe Biden's White House and the Struggle for America's Future. The Guardian has excerpts today saying the president has told aides in private that he felt tired, and that explains why there are so few events before 10 a.m. So two questions. Is this why we're seeing brunch lids in recent weeks? Today we had a breakfast lid. And has the president admitted to you?
Wait, say that last part?
So is that why we had a breakfast lid this morning? I mean, the book is...
what?
There was a breakfast lid came to the press for the first time, I think. We've had some brunch lids in recent weeks as well. So my question is that
So you
a
think
reflection...
we've had those lit because of this excerpt?
Not the excerpt. The book is suggesting the president tells aides he's tired.
But that's in the excerpt, right?
Yeah, and that's why there have been so few public events before 10 a.m.
I mean, that's a ridiculous assumption to make. I mean, that's a ridiculous assumption to make. Okay.
I don't even know what the hell they were talking about.
The New York mayor is saying about these migrants in New York City, any plan that does not include stopping the flow at the border is a failed plan. So why aren't you guys stopping the flow at the border?
We are stopping the flow at the border. If anything,
No, you're not, you liar.
been able to do on his own without the help of Republicans in Congress, something that he had to do on his own again because Republicans refuse to
What?
the funding necessary to deal with a situation, a broken immigration system that has been broken for decades. They choose, what they choose to do is play politics, but the president has put a plan that is indeed, the data showing is that it is indeed slowing down the flow of unlawful migration, and that is because of the work that this president continues to do without the help of...
Where is that happening? Because it ain't happening in America.
So far is robust. Did you guys realize that the initial Hawaii wildfire response was not that good? Or is it just easier for people to get help from the White House when the president is not on vacation?
So the premise of your question and the way you posed your question, I disagree. Just for the record, So if you were to do your reporting and speak to the governor of Hawaii, the senators of Hawaii, the folks on the ground, they would say that the president reacted in record time when it came to dealing with the wildfires, when it came to dealing and making sure that they
Record time, huh?
on the federal level to deal with what was going on the ground. Let's not forget there were more than 600 federal employees on the ground already to assist with the wildfires in Maui. So your question is wrong, it's flawed in many, many ways, and I would advise you to go speak to the governor and the local and state officials in Hawaii.
Was it record time when he went to Ohio? Oh yeah, that didn't happen.
Supposed to visit China in October. This is the first visit. If it happened, this is the first visit.
Somebody throw the shoe.
His arrest has been issued. What do you make of that?
I'm just not going to speak to Putin's travels. I was kind of asked this question yesterday. It doesn't change. I'm not going to speak to his travels.
One more question on Russia. I know, I understand you don't want to comment on Prigozhin plane incident, but many U.S. officials went on the record and said having him march toward Moscow, it was a sign of weakness. Now, killing him, does that reflect a sign of strength in your assessment?
I mean, I've answered the question. I mean, the president basically said there's not much that happens in Russia that Putin is not behind. I mean, you know, this was not just predictable, but it was predicted. Like we have said, we know that the Kremlin has a long history, a very long history in killing its opponents. So I think we've been very clear here about our thoughts. I'm just not going to. I don't have any new assessments. I don't have an assessment to make, but there's a history here, so I'll leave it there. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I wanted to go back to the question, or what you were answering about legal pathways for migrants and the work authorizations. When I've spoken to advocates, people who work with parolees when they arrive in the United States, sponsors, the number one thing they say is how long it takes to get work authorization. I didn't hear you talk about necessarily what you're doing to speed that up, given that you've opened these pathways so that people can come here temporarily from certain countries.
So just to give a little bit of how this works, the process for applying for asylum and applying for employment authorization based on asylum applications is established under current immigration laws and can only be changed by Congress. That's how this process works. The law established a 150-day waiting period to apply for work authorization and an additional 30 days to be eligible for approval. That's how the process works. Again, this is something that Congress put forth, and the only way that it can change is through Congress.
Have you asked Congress to work on that?
Well, we've had asked Congress to help us just revamp and deal with the broken in many different ways, including this, to help us revamp and actually fix a broken system. We have asked Congress to do that from day one. Remember, the president put forth a comprehensive immigration reform legislation. So this is something that the president has made a priority. The first piece of legislation that he put forward dealt with the immigration system. Again, this is something that, when it comes to this system, the president wants to do this in a humane way. And he has taken actions to work on this issue on his own without the help, certainly, from Republicans in Congress.
I also wanted to ask you, Administrator Criswell, when she was here yesterday, talked about, and again today, about the rise of extreme weather, this idea of FEMA having to deal with an unprecedented workload. Is the president thinking about it all outside of your funding request to Congress? Any changes in structures within the White House, any changes within agencies that would help support what we're seeing, which is more extreme weather, more often, more people needing help?
I mean, I don't have anything to share about structure within the administration, but I would say this. Look, I'll say this. We've asked for $12 billion, right? FEMA has asked for FEMA to continue to doing its work. That conversation is going to continue. Obviously, the administrator laid out what that means for her work. As it relates to extreme weather, one of the reasons the president has called climate change a crisis and done the work, historic work that he's done on dealing with climate change is because of that, right? Is because we're seeing this change of pattern. We're seeing how rapidly and how quickly this extreme weather, hurricanes are coming about. That's what the administrator just said. And so, look, there's a lot of work to do. The president has taken this very, very seriously. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act was so critical and important. The biggest investment in dealing with climate change. That's why the bipartisan infrastructure law is so important. So this is work that the president's going to continue to do to deal with an issue that is a crisis, not just here, but globally. As it relates to any changes within the administration, I don't have anything for you on that. But right behind you, go ahead.
The Afghanistan withdrawal ended 2 years ago this week. Does President Biden plan to commemorate the events and the people who were killed and left behind as that happened?
So, as you know, the president had a statement recently when it came to the anniversary of Abbeygate. So, just want to state this as it was stated in the president's statement, that we'll forever honor the memory of the 13 service members who were stolen far too soon from their families, loved ones, and brothers and sisters in arms while performing a noble mission on behalf of our nation. And the First Lady, certainly the President, and our entire nation will always support those families. And so, look, the President has said on many occasions that ending our longest war after 20 years was the right thing to do. He refused to send another generation, you've heard him say this, of Americans to fight a war that should have ended a long time ago. America is no longer is no longer there. Obviously, it is on a stronger footing, more capable to meet our security needs around the world, because we are not fighting a ground war in Afghanistan, and we continue to put pressure on Al Qaeda and ISIS-K while also focusing on terrorist threats elsewhere. And so that's going to be the president's focus, to make sure that our homeland is protected, that Americans are protected, and that's what the president's focus is going to continue to be. I have one more question. Go ahead.
A question about North Korea, the missile launch earlier this morning. Anything you can say about that? And then also, we heard about increased cooperation between the Russians and the North Koreans with respect to weapons for the Russians. I'm wondering if the president would consider meeting with Kim Jong-un because of this increased cooperation, and he can't seem to get a response from the North Koreans.
So a couple of things, and I know my colleagues spoke to this is Russia and North Korea just recently during a gaggle. So just to reiterate what he said is in part due to the success of U.S. sanctions and export controls. Russia has been forced to turn to rogue regimes like the DPRK to try to obtain weapons and equipment to support its military operations in Ukraine. We have previously warned that Russia is actively seeking to acquire additional munitions from the DPRK. Today, as my colleagues shared, we shared new information that arms negotiations between Russia and the DPRK are actively advancing. Russia's Minister of Defense recently traveled to the DPRK to try to convince Pyongyang to sell artillery ammunition to Russia. And our information indicates that following that visit, another group of Russian officials traveled there for follow-up on discussions about potential arms deals. Any arms deal between the DPRK and Russia would directly violate a number of UN Security Council resolutions. We urge the DPRK to cease its arms negotiations with Russia, and we are taking action directly to exposing and sanctioning individuals and entities working to facilitate arms deals between Russia and the DPRK. So we will continue to identify, expose, and counter Russia attempts to acquire military equipment from the DPRK or any other states that is prepared to support its war in Ukraine. As it relates to the missile, we condemn. We've been very clear about this. Condemn the DPRK's latest ballistic missile launch. This launch is in violation of multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions and possesses a threat to the DPRK's neighbors and international community. We remain committed to a diplomatic approach to the DPRK and call on DPRK to engage in dialogue, as we have for some time now. Our commitment to the defense of the Republic Republic of Korea, Japan remains ironclad. Any specifics on that, I would refer you to Indo-PACOM and for any additional comment, and I just don't have anything else to add on that.
To your calls for engagement, would the president consider a meeting?
I just don't have a meeting to speak to at this time, but look, we just don't have anything to share on that at this time. What I can say is that our lines of communication is open. We've been very clear on that. I just don't have anything to share on a potential meeting. With that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Corinne.
Run, run, run. Gotta cleanse the palate. I think we need a doubly. Holy KJP, lying her face off. Lying her face off right to Peter Ducey. Somebody said it in the chat. I'm trying to remember who said it. Somebody called it out though. Asking the wrong question. That's what she told Peter Ducey. Your question's wrong. I'm not going to answer your question because it's wrong. It's the wrong question. Thank you so much, Mr. Frizzy Fro, for the $500 donation over on Rumble. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. My goodness. I don't know. I need to go read the dictionary. I need more vocab to express my gratitude. Thank you so much, Mr. Frizzy Fro. You're so awesome. I really appreciate all the support. You are keeping us going over here. Let's see. Let's read through chat real quick. What's up, Speedy Girl? Happy Freedom. So I'm going to read the schedule for you guys because I didn't get a second to do it. Because KJP was staggering out on stage, smelling like booze and shame. Just another day for her. We're going to be starting off with a video titled, "A Biden Impeachment Inquiry Must Be Opened Immediately." They found more emails and more aliases. I can't remember his name. It's Robert L. Peters. He's a pimp from Long Island. From Rhode Island, I mean. It's actually Old Man Walter. So there's a bunch of stuff about that. I have 2 videos that I went and pulled off of TikTok because I can't find them anywhere else. One is talking about some suspicious stuff that happened in Florida prior to the hurricane or tsunami or whatever's hitting Florida. They told everyone to go get gas, and then later on that day they announced that all the gas in the area had been contaminated with diesel, so then cars aren't running properly. And then the White House just came out and said, well, we asked everyone to evacuate, but they didn't evacuate. Well, that's weird. That's a weird coincidence. And then I pulled another video that I came across listing all the coincidences going on in Maui. And then we have a video here titled "Maui Crews Installing Dust Screens Around Lahaina." I spoke about this yesterday during the live, that I had come across a video where they were putting up dust screens, and it looks like they're walling off the burned area. They're claiming it's to prevent dust from, I don't know, going to the non-burnt areas because supposedly it's toxic or hazardous somehow. But it's starting to look like censorship. Like they're blocking it out so you can't see what they're doing over there. So that's kind of suspicious. So I grabbed some videos for us to watch on that because I was talking about it yesterday. And then we have a video titled "New York City Migrant Crisis. Governor Responds to Mayor's Criticism." Basically, they asked everyone to go to New York City. If you come across the border, go to New York City. Now they don't have the resources. They don't know who to blame. They don't know who to blame. Is it the mayor? Is it the governor? Does the president need to do something? They don't know who to blame. It's somebody else's fault. They left that gate wide open. The gates are actually welded open on the border. There's multiple spots where the gates have been open and then welded that way so they could just walk through. So they don't have to have border security help them onto the bus and stuff like that. They can just walk right through. But according to KJP, that's not happening anymore, which is a total lie from the podium. She's a total piece of shit. Anyways, we're going to start on this first video here titled "A Biden Impeachment Inquiry Must Be Opened Immediately." Oh, Robert L. Peters. Alright, first we're going to do a little advertisement. Go get you a Orange Eagle t-shirt or a Screaming Goat t-shirt. Screaming Eagle, I know you were on your toes. You're waiting for me to fuck that up. I didn't. Go get you one of those cool t-shirts. You can get a cool t-shirt like this, Bars and Stars Hooligan shirt. This came out on 4th of July 2 years ago. That's how long we've been doing this. Actually, we're working on 4 years, but go check out the merch. You'll find the link in the description. Go check that out. Alright, it's time for the video. Let's get her started.
The National Archives has just admitted that they have in their possession over 5,000 emails tied to Joe Biden's alias email accounts. Joe Biden, as vice president, used 3 different aliases: Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, J.R.B. Ware. None of these are Biden's Secret Service code names. These are secret email accounts that Joe Biden was using to exchange covert messages with Hunter Biden, other Biden family members, friends, and staffers. And the persnickety librarians at the archives, who were salivating to see Trump in prison over a paperwork dispute, are stonewalling the release of over 5,000 secret Biden emails. They're saying sorting through the secret emails will take years. The National Archives, they have 3,000 employees. It takes less than 15 seconds to read an email, so you do the math. Another cover-up. And Joe Biden's lawyers will have Sharpies, and they get to redact what they consider private or privileged. Hunter, I'm flying to Ukraine tomorrow. Call me about the prosecutor we were talking about. Zzt, redacted. There's a good chance we won't see most of these emails for years, which is why House Republicans need to open an impeachment inquiry immediately. So how do we find out about these secret emails? The laptop, obviously. Here's one from a White House staffer to Robert L. Peters, Joe Biden, CCing Hunter. Quote, boss, 8:45 a.m. prep for 9 a.m. phone call with Ukrainian President Poroshenko. Then we're off to Rhode Island for infrastructure event, and then Wilmington for UDEL commencement. So why was White House staff CCing Hunter about Vice President Joe Biden's phone call with the Ukrainian president? Why would Hunter need to know that?
The owners of Burisma were squeezing Hunter Biden to call Washington to get help. Along this same time period, we found a pseudonym where he copied Hunter Biden, and it would lead one to believe that this was Joe Biden's way of copying Hunter Biden to say, okay, send it to the Burisma owners and tell them help is on the way. And 5 days later, Joe Biden flew to Ukraine to begin the process of firing the prosecutor.
Hunter was also using his dad's secret email address to get his cronies government jobs. Here's one. Before you fill the position, please talk to me. McGrail very much wants to serve as detail for Treasury. Joe Biden's alias responds, call me right away. Don't worry. The crony got the job. There could even be as many as 6 Biden alias email accounts. One of his personal favorites, 67 Stingray. You know, the car that he almost lost in the kitchen fire that almost killed his cat? That one. And the same time Joe Biden was using secret alias email accounts to talk business with Hunter, Joe Biden was flying Hunter to at least 15 other countries on Air Force Two. We paid for that. Countries where Hunter conducted business. What do you call secret flights, secret email addresses, burner phones, shell companies, offshore accounts, client dinners and phone calls, 150 suspicious activity reports, and $20 million of foreign money funneled into 10 different Biden family bank accounts? Well, a Biden business partner called it selling the Biden brand. And the White House won't say whether it's still happening.
We know that from a Hunter Biden associate now that he sold the appearance of access to then Vice President Biden. Are you confident that he has stopped doing that?
That is a question for Hunter Biden.
If somebody is selling the appearance of access to the White House, that is a question for the White House.
No, that is your I don't know how you're perceiving that.
Devin Archer talks about how he and Hunter Biden tried to profit off the Biden brand. What is the Biden brand?
Not going to get into it from here.
She can't handle Peter Ducey.
We're going to move on.
So the White House isn't going to get into whether the White House is for sale. Got it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
Robert L. Peters. Pimpin' from Rhode Island. Found all those emails, but it's going to take years to go after it. He'll be gone by the time they get to the bottom of those emails. It'll be hard to indict him from below the earth, but, you know, who knows? Who knows? I doubt anything will be uncovered. They just tell us just to see if we're going to do anything. They just release this information, then they're like, now what? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And we just sit there and go, no, we're not going to do anything. We're going to bitch about it on the internet. Old man Walter. Super corrupt. We're going to read through the chat really quick. Then we're going to move forward to the next video. Thank you so much, Mark, for the $1 donation over on Rumble. I really appreciate you, Mark. Thank you so much. Oh, I can't read that out loud. Not while YouTube's watching. Can't talk about the blue and yellow country. Getting all the trouble. What's up, Rappy? Happy freedom. Mark, dust can't go over a fence. Yeah, wait till we cover that video. And they tell you like it doesn't sound convincing. I will say that it doesn't sound convincing. They have some sort of engineer narrating this video while they're explaining why they're putting the dust fences up. I think they said they're 8 feet tall or something, but they're gonna make them 16 feet tall, so they're gonna wall off the whole burned area, and then supposedly it's for your health. Anytime the government shows up and says we're doing this for the greater good, just know that's control. That's all it is. They're not here to help. You know, like people say, when the government says we're here to help, run the other way. Well, that's why. It's all about control, and they're definitely trying to control what's happening over in Maui. Absolutely. We're going to cover that in depth. Screaming Eagle, I was waiting. Yeah. I know, I had to be very mindful. I was like, Orange Eagle, Screaming Goat. Merging into the Screaming Eagle. It's Trump's final form. Let's see. Tactic, criminals in DC. I came across a video that was talking about the Chicago mayor is trying to sue Kia and Hyundai because of all the Grand Theft Autos in Chicago. And it was a really long video, which is why I didn't make the schedule. But if we can find a summarized version, I'll pull it for tomorrow's live. But it was talking about something along the lines of, it's not the criminals' fault that those cars are so easy to steal. The temptation is just overwhelming because they're so easy to take. Like, no. No. That new mayor over in Chicago is going to cause that whole city to become Iraq. Like, that place is going to be just... I don't know what to call it because it's already a terrible place. So, like, what do you call it? It's not quite hell, but it's on the way. I don't know. You gotta ask Serum. Poor Serum lives out there. That mayor is gonna run that place into the ground, though. You thought Lightfoot was bad? Oh no, this guy's like, hold my Bud Light. That's what he's saying. DCAT, I believe it. I believe it. I can't say this stuff out loud, but I would not be surprised. He looks like he's one bad day away from not being here anymore. He is lost. He doesn't know how to speak. He doesn't know what's going on. He's just... It's like he's living in a delusion. Like he's just unaware of everything. And nothing he does or says has any kind of accountability. It's... I don't know. They're like, hey, we want to make some moves. Let old man Walter out there do some singing and dancing for the people. And we go do the stuff here in the background. And we just pay attention to old man Walter as he looks like a marionette. Tactic, they'll go after the drivers and the keys instead. Yeah. They're going to blame everybody in Chicago for owning cars. I'm like, well, you shouldn't own a vehicle if you don't want them to steal it. That's how they're doing it. It's terrible. It's terrible what's going on there. Thank you so much, Double OJ, for joining the membership program. Oh, for continuing the membership program over on Twitch for the 2nd month. You're officially a hooligan. And I appreciate you. Thank you. You're awesome. I can't believe we'll never have new members over on YouTube again. It's just mind-blowing. I seen someone say yesterday they missed their H badge. If you join the membership program over on Kick, you get the H badge. I'm hoping that Rumble will update their membership system so I can add the badges in over there. Because right now you just get that like red pillar or whatever that icon is, signaling that you're an official hooligan. Hopefully they'll let me put the badges on Rumble soon. That'll be cool. I'm still working on the chat over on the website also, trying to improve things. And that'll be done soon. Working with code is so hard because you can build things with code that does exactly what you want it to do, but then you apply it to the page and then all this weird stuff happens, and then you got to add more code into it to stabilize what you're trying to embed into the page. It is rough. Doing code is rough. The HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, PHP, all that stuff is well, I don't have a formal education, so that's probably why it's so rough. I'm like, that looks cool, let's try and do that, and then I spend 16 hours trying to code just a little thing. But I am working on the chat. I am working on that. because the text over on the website is a little small. I got to zoom in on the page to read it. So I'm trying to improve that. I'm also going to try to change the font, and I want to add the ability to upload custom emojis, but I have to write a whole bunch of JavaScript and stuff for that. And like I said, I don't have a formal education, so it's complicated to write code. Skydiving Sam, you missed yours. Let's see. Screaming Eagle, he's always a nasty person. I don't have any sympathy for him. Who, Old Man Walter? Nah, I don't know anybody that actually likes Old Man Walter. I've never heard anybody say, yeah, he's great. I always hear people say, well, he's better than the Orange Eagle. Well, he's not, though. He's not. You're lying to yourself if you think that. And that they're going to bulldoze the whole area and cover up the evidence of the DEWs. Probably. I don't know. That whole laser situation, it's not beyond belief, but I do think it's weird that there's not a whole lot of footage of the fire. You see footage of the aftermath, and you see footage from prior to the fires. But there's not a whole lot of footage of Maui on fire. Everybody's got cell phones. You might not have internet. You might not have electricity, right? There's a mass fire going on. But your phone, if it has any life in it, still has the ability to record. Where's all the footage of the fires? Like, because I'm not seeing any of that. Smoke, see a lot of smoke, and you see a lot of the debris afterwards, but where's the actual footage of the fires? And they said it started by like a down power line. So a power line came down, burned the whole island up. What? You guys have never had a down power line before? That's all it took? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. There's a lot of weird stuff about that. So let's see how we're going to do this. Let's do this. We'll do this next video. Maui crews installing dust screen around Lahaina, and they're going to sell it to you, right? They're selling it to you. This is necessary. We need to do this. And like I said, it's some engineer explaining this as if this is just protocol. Maybe it is to a certain degree, but the way that they're doing it just feels off. It feels like they are hiding something, and it's really weird. And then after this, we're going to play another video talking about Maui and all of that stuff. But they're going to list the coincidences that has happened since the beginning. And I believe this person that we're going to show on the next video is a local of Maui, so it's not just some random asshole. Plus, I've heard these coincidences over and over again in different videos, so I'm kind of inclined to believe it, at least enough to show it to you guys. So, once again, this video is them putting up the dust fences out in Maui.
Yeah, so once the road opened up, we saw a lot of users coming along the highway, whether it's in vehicles or people walking, and knowing all the dust can contain, a lot of hazardous materials, when any wind comes up, we want to make sure they're protected. So we, met with contractors, got a project going to put up this dust fence. And in some areas, Public Works had already started putting up with a chain link fence, so it's easy for the contractor to come in and wrap it with this dust fence. And this one next to us is 8 feet high. Later on we'll come back and we'll make it 12 feet to give you that added better protection. Yeah, so generally when you have a development going on, you'll see the perimeter being secured by it, so keep all that dust as when the contractor is doing a lot of earthwork activities. So yeah, it keeps the dust out. Yeah, with the dust fence here, with Ed Sniffen, our director, he's very proactive and pushes things through, and this is something he recognized that would be very beneficial to everybody, having this dust fence, protecting again from that hazardous material blowing. We talk with our federal partners, and together, we can use a emergency relief money for it, and also putting in our state funds for it. So yeah, it was something needed to be done, and we jumped in and got it done real quick. So when we talked to the contractor, they already had some supplies on island. I think they had about 5,000 linear foot, and immediately they started, looking at Oahu, and then we'll also look at mainland, and we'll help them. We'll fly in any supplies and materials that are needed. Yeah, so ultimately everything we're looking at almost maybe 30,000 linear feet, and it will cover both sides of Honopialani Highway through this area, and also going generally around the whole burn area perimeter. We want to keep that dust contained, or even the winds coming in and blowing it out. So overall, looking roughly 30,000 linear foot. Yeah, we anticipate this fence will probably be up at least a year or so. Right now, again, it's help protect what that dust they have out there. When they do the debris removal, there's going to be more dust. And so besides the dust fence, you'll see like a chain link backing. That will provide extra support for it and extra security as well, make sure it doesn't get cut up and things like that.
Like I said, that could be standard protocol to a certain degree, but They're going to make them 16 feet tall, and they're going to enclose the entire perimeter because of dust. Because dust can't go over fences. I don't know. There's something weird about it. There's something weird about it. And I'll never tell you guys what to think or do or say or feel or anything like that. This ain't mainstream news. But I think that's suspicious. And I just wanted you guys to see that. Old BR, I hadn't heard about this. I didn't hear about it either. And I can't hardly find any videos on YouTube about it. And when I do, it's like the same ones from TikTok. I keep telling you guys, like, TikTok is like the source of information. There's a lot of nonsense on there. But there's a lot of things that hit TikTok before it hits anywhere else. So a lot of these videos I had to go pull from TikTok. But they're going to enclose the whole perimeter. They're going to put screens on it that you can't see through. And then they're going to go deal with all of that stuff. I don't know. There's something weird about it. DCAT, they won't even let Hawaiians park on the mountain highway above Maui to see what's actually happening. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're hiding something. There's something weird about it. Let me find this next video really quick. I downloaded it earlier. For some reason, and I don't know why, but when I send videos from my phone to my Google Drive and then download them on my desktop, some sort of compression happens. And so the quality is not real great. But the information is what we're here for. So they're going to list all the coincidences that's going on in Maui. And once again, I believe this person is a local to Maui. If I can find their information, I'll provide it tomorrow, or I might even add it into the description for this live later on today. We'll see how it goes. And I forgot, I got a bonus video here about some stuff going on in China where basically if you can't get past this registration on your phone where they scan your face and all this stuff, you can't buy groceries in China. So we'll be covering that later today. So that's some other things to worry about. Anyways, as of right now, this video is going to talk about, I'll do it full screen. That way we can clearly see what she's talking about. But she's talking about Maui and all the weird coincidences that is happening there. Just to go along with our little dust fence video that we were just watching. So let's get this started.
So it's just a coincidence that the police chief was the same man in charge of the Las Vegas shooting. And it's just a huge coincidence that property owned by millionaires and billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Oprah, and the founder of PayPal remained untouched, while the land of the natives burned only a few feet away, literally. And it's just a huge coincidence that the island had the largest system of outdoor sirens in the world, yet they decided not to sound them or alert anybody in any way. And it's just a huge coincidence that they closed all of the schools, sent all of the children home, and turned off the water as soon as the fires started so that people couldn't put them out. And it's just a coincidence that under orders, policemen blockaded the exits, didn't allow anyone to evacuate, and forced them to jump in the water to save their own lives. And it's just a coincidence that the island is set to be the very first to operate on 100% renewable energy, and to do so, they must significantly decrease their CO2 emissions. And it's just a huge coincidence that 1 month prior to the fires, the mayor issued a press release highlighting his commitment to the United Nations 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development. And it's just a coincidence that Hawaii is the only state to have submitted a voluntary local review, which is a framework and goal set to achieve sustainable development. And it's just a huge coincidence that BlackRock and the United States government are 2 out of the 3 largest landowners on the island who have been trying to buy up the land from the natives for the past few decades, who refuse to sell, and both of them are part of the renewable energy agenda. And it's just a huge coincidence that the survivors' homes that are still standing are now being evicted. And it's just a coincidence that the fact checkers saying that all of this is a coincidence are owned by BlackRock. At this point, if you believe that all of these are coincidences, you are the crazy one, not me. Google is not going to come out and tell you what's going on, and even if they did, a lot of you wouldn't even believe it unless it was from a government or fact-checking website. But guess what? They're not going to tattle on themselves, so you need to think for yourself. We should be absolutely enraged about these fires. We really need to stand up and do something, because things like this are just going to keep happening because we allow them.
Well, just a list of coincidences. Again, just something to think about. There's a lot of strange stuff going on about this whole Maui situation. Something weird is going on. Speedy Girl, the sheriff that was the Las Vegas sheriff, is now the coroner of the Maui area. So he's the only one that will inspect the remains. Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not sure if she listed that in the video, but yeah, I've been seeing that and hearing that and stuff. When he gave a speech about Maui and, you know, all the things they're going to do to help everyone there and all that stuff, he originally said, oh yeah, I gave an oath to Nevada, blah blah, and then he was like, actually, excuse me, to Hawaii or Maui or, you know, wherever their local government is called there. But he had like a spoof moment because he was there during the Las Vegas incident that happened, the big bad thing that happened there. Now he's here for this big bad incident. It's like, I don't know, but the government loves you. Okay, don't you ever forget that. Streaming Eagle, she's a cutie. Getting sidetracked here, okay? We're on conspiracy theories. Now how cute the girl is in the video. Come on now. Straight up. SEPA, coincidences don't exist. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite the coincidence. It's quite the list of coincidences. But yeah, so I just wanted to, I've been mentioning this stuff, so I just thought when I came across that video, here's a nice concise list of all the strange occurrences that I keep hearing about. So I just thought I would share that with you hooligans. Mr. Beans and Beans, God will bring all this cover-ups. Bring out all the cover-ups in Maui. God will. He will do as he does. The truth has a way of coming out. And I believe it will. Robert, can you put the link for the video in the chat? I don't have the link. I downloaded the video. I will see what I can do later on today. I have another busy day today like I did yesterday. We might actually get to play the game today. We'll see. But I'll see. If I come across the link, I'll try and post it. I actually downloaded the video for that one on my phone yesterday, I believe it was, when I had come across it. What's up, Impreza? Happy freedom. Appreciate you being here. And that this was planned for a land grab. I believe it. And she was talking about, the smart cities and stuff. Watch that stuff pop up there. Watch that happen. Everybody will work and live and exist in a building. And that I don't believe in coincidences. It's just a quinky dink. Don't worry about it. Everybody in Maui got $700. They're straight. It's so stupid. Didn't we get more for stimulus? I don't know. I don't know. Alright, let me see what we're going to do next here. We got a couple more videos. Let's see. I think this one is about Florida.
Did anybody else notice yesterday?
Yep. Okay, so this one is about Florida, and this is what I was talking about, how they were urging everyone in Florida to go get gas and stuff for the evacuation because of the natural disaster that is occurring or did occur in Florida. But they told everyone to go get gas, and they made it a really big deal, go fuel up and all this stuff. And then later on in the day, they were like, oh, by the way, the gas you just put in your car, it's been contaminated with diesel fuel. So if your car starts running like shit or stops running, that's why. And then the White House today came out and was like, oh, nobody evacuated Florida, so now we have all these people we have to help. Weird. Like, are we going to have natural disasters every week now, or what? Because, the West Coast just got hit with a tsunami or, something. It rained, but the news told everyone to, run, duck, dive, and hide, and do all this other stuff. And then that reminds me, that was like a week or two ago that they had told everyone that event that happened in New York City was a riot. When it wasn't a riot, it was just a lot of people all over the place because of that live streamer coming to New York. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it's like every week we're going to have a natural disaster now? Is that how it's going to go? Is that the new distraction? No more balloons in the sky, no more UFOs, no more look over here, look over there? No, just be scared of rain? Is that what we're doing now? We got to keep up on this stuff. Anyways, we'll go ahead and get this video started. Just some strange things that happened with this whole Florida situation.
Did anybody else notice yesterday on the news when they were talking about this hurricane Idalia that's going to hit right at Tampa? Did anybody watch them say that the government told every citizen of Tampa, Florida, to go to the gas station and fill up their car with at least halfway yesterday? But then later it comes out that 29 gas stations, 29 of the most prominent gas stations where people went and filled up with gas, had contaminated gas that was contaminated with diesel fuel. Conspiracy? I think not. At this rate, the rate we're going, a conspiracy theory is just 6 months premature of becoming true. They're all coming true. It's scary to think that our government, I've been through several hurricanes living in Georgia. People come up here to where I live and they stay in hotels, and we wind up being packed anytime there's a hurricane, and then people go back down. But I have never, ever, ever heard of this happening. And there's still people out there that think that Maui was not caused by the government. If you do, okay, whatever. I can't convince you any more than what everybody else has tried to convince people. But please explain to me how this is just something that just happened. It just happened. Not that our government wanted everybody to be stranded on the freaking highway when this thing hits so they can blow out some more people. They are trying to dispose of us because they want to create smart cities and smart worlds, and we are disposable to them. But come September 1st, I hope and I pray that all of us that are tired of being sick and tired shows them the power in numbers, in our numbers, in standing united behind one common goal. And I can tell you, there are people coming together, white, brown, Hispanic. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter where you come from. We are all tired of being sick and tired.
So what she's referencing there for September 1st, I mentioned it to you guys probably a week ago or so. September 1st, they're planning a nationwide strike. Everybody stay home. Don't go to work. Don't shop at Walmart. Don't buy things off Amazon. Stay home, stay with your family, and all that kind of stuff. But the websites that are running those campaigns are connected with the government. So it's almost like the government is encouraging everyone to take a strike September 1st. At the same time, schools are already closing and stuff like that because of the plague, because of fear. There's also schools that will not let you go back unless you get the jab now. They're reinstating their mandates and stuff like that. So it's kind of like the government is trying to make everyone stay home, but make you think it's your idea. It's your idea to do that. Like putting ourselves in a lockdown. I don't know. There's something, it's all weird. We're having a conspiracy hour right now. It's all weird. It's all weird. But I think it's interesting that stuff happened in Florida. They contaminated the fuel after telling everyone to go get fuel. And then the White House today said, oh, well, nobody decided to leave Florida when the storm hit, so now we have to go save everyone. And then I imagine by tomorrow they'll have all the stats of all the terrible things that happened, people they couldn't find, maybe people that died in the storm, and then they're going to blame them. They're going to say, well, it's your fault, you never evacuated. And they're not going to mention if the vehicle still runs or not because it's got diesel in it, it's not supposed to. I don't know, just something to think about. Just something to think about. Again, I'm not telling you guys what to think, feel, say, what to do, or whatever. I seen this and I think it's pretty suspicious, and I want to show you guys so you guys can think and, analyze it however you do. But that's what's going on with all of that. We have 2 videos left. But first we're going to read through the chat, see what everybody's thinking here. Except for early ballots. Nah, it's coming. It's coming. The shenanigans is being rolled out as we speak. Kevin, oh my god, I've been looking for a 1-bedroom place and they're all like $2,000 a month. Yeah, finding a place to live is a nightmare. I've been looking for a place to move to because I can't stand living in this location any longer. But it is Quite difficult. There's nothing available, and then even things that are available is either apartments for $3,000 a month in an area that pays $10 an hour, or buying a house for $500,000 when I don't qualify because I have $42,000 in student loan debt, so my debt to income ratio is not good enough to get a mortgage. So I'm just kind of stuck here doing this. I don't know. Living situations are not good right now. Something needs to change. Podcast Jell, damn, imagine being asleep and believing the mainstream media. I don't know what that would be like. I don't know. I feel like people believe the mainstream media at this point as a safety blanket. That way they don't have to think for themselves. They don't have to really worry themselves. Like, the news tells you what to be scared of and what to worry about. And I think that they would rather do that than see what's actually happening around them and be scared of that. They're like, there's like 1,000 things around me I should be worried about and probably pissed off about. But instead, I'll just look at the TV, and the TV tells me to be scared of these 3 things. I'll just worry about the 3 things and not the 1,000 things around me, and that way I don't have to get angry, because the news doesn't tell you to get angry. They just tell you to get scared. And I feel like people are doing that as a safety blanket at this point. Like, kind of like the compliance cloth. It's not necessarily that they want to comply. Some people want to hide their identity. They want to hide their crack teeth because they've been abusing drugs, trying to cope with the way the world is right now. And so now they just use their compliance cloth as a safety blanket. I don't know. They want to talk about mental illness. They caused a ton of mental illness. They gave us all mental illness when they locked us down and all that stuff. I don't think any of us are wrapped too tight. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Screaming Eagle, I'm striking. I think there's a lot of people that's going to strike. It's all weird. Everything happening around us is really weird right now. I want everybody to do what they believe they should do, and that's all I want. Ooh, Kevin, you're dealing with black mold? Yeah, it's no good. That stuff it can kill you. It can kill you. So, yeah, definitely got to move. Podcast Jell, ignorance is bliss. It is. Oh, Zero, I believe it. I believe it. I believe everything will work out as it should. I've always believed that. Old BR, I'd sell my house and buy a smaller one in a better neighborhood, but I'm old and my property tax is frozen, so I'd increase my tax load. Staying in the hood, I suppose. Yeah, and that's the tough situation. Is, you know, if you bought a house 30 years ago, it's probably gone up 3 times in value. So you'd make a bunch of money, but at the same time, buying a new house is going to cost a bunch of money. And then, you know, there's also those unknown unknowns. You got to replace the septic, you got to replace the furnace, is the roof good, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then, like you're saying with taxes, like having the tax set to what it was when you bought the house versus what property tax would be today, yeah, it probably wouldn't be worth it. Every situation is unique, but I'm hearing stuff like that a lot. A lot of people are like, well, I would like to move, and I've owned a house for a while, but it just wouldn't be worth it because of the way the housing market is right now. Serum, smoke a little black mold to put some hair on your chest, put some hair on your eyeballs, like the last thing you ever do. Smoke some black mold. Don't encourage people with that, Serum. You know, they were eating Tide Pods just a couple of years ago. People are like, you know, I ain't never tried that. I mean, fentanyl's okay, but what if you smoke some black mold? I'm like, don't encourage people, Serum. Old BR over 3 times in value? I believe it. I believe it. I see a lot of 1-story, 1-2-bedroom houses that a couple years ago would have been $80,000, and now they're like $350,000. I'm like, holy crap. DeRosa, huge recall due to fuel injection systems in a couple weeks. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe DeSantis will come out there like the guy in Chicago. It's like, it's your fault for buying gas. I don't think DeSantis will do that, but just Just because it's so hilarious what they did in Chicago. It's Hyundai's fault that the cars are so easy to steal. I'm like, yeah. Alright, we're going to cover this next video titled New York City Migrant Crisis. Governor responds to mayor's criticism. These people are stupid. I don't know how New York survives. I feel like these places just survive because of us, not because of the leaders. The leaders don't do anything but get rich. Get rich and work their ulterior plans. Our desire to survive is what keeps the wheel spinning. Alright, let's get this started.
Once again taking aim at Governor Hochul and her response to the migrant crisis right here in New York City.
The governor refusing to move migrants to other counties. Fox 5's Briella Tomasetti joins us live from Midtown with more. Good morning, Briella.
Tashani and Bianca, good morning to both of you. Mayor Adams did not back down on that, but Governor Hochul struck back saying, listen, I called in the National Guard and also foot the bill for some of those larger scale migrant shelters at Creedmoor Psychiatric Facility in Queens and Randall's Island. And speaking of the governor, she is actually going to be down in Washington, D.C. later this afternoon, meeting with White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. And although Hochul and Adams, they have clashed numerous times in regard to this situation, this very divisive topic, they are aligned when it comes to pleading the federal government for more help.
We cannot and will not force other parts of our state to shelter migrants.
Every county in this state should be part of this.
An impassioned war of words between Mayor Eric Adams and Governor Kathy Hochul over the migrant crisis that has consumed the city since last spring. Tensions are rising between the two leaders as Adams denounced the governor's stance that the city should limit its movement of migrants to other parts of the state while speaking at a New York law school event.
Governor Hochul has been a partner on subway safety, on crime, on a host of things. But I think this issue, I think the governor's wrong.
Adams says the federal government is considering whether to offer up locations outside the city to house asylum seekers. And if that's the case, he will double down on taking the pressure off those who live in the 5 boroughs.
And it's just not fair to New York City residents. You know, we have 0.05 of the landmass, but we have 99.9% of the migrant asylum seekers.
In a press conference last week, Hochul reiterated her position on the matter.
In 1981, the city of New York and a coalition for the homeless signed an agreement that the city would provide shelter to anyone who seeks it. This is an agreement that does not apply to the state's other 57 counties.
Her press secretary also issued this statement. It's unfortunate that the mayor is choosing to point fingers at the state, which continues to provide the city with unprecedented amounts of financial support. 104,000 migrants have arrived in New York City since the crisis began. 59,000 asylum seekers are currently under the city's care across more than 200 emergency shelters. A City Hall spokesperson says its requests from the federal government remain the same and, quite frankly, unaddressed. Adams has called on the White House to declare a state of emergency and to expedite the work authorization process. But just this week, the Biden administration seemingly washed its hands of the mess. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas wrote separate letters to Hochul and Adams saying the crisis was created by the city and state. He provided about 24 recommendations, which include structural and operational improvements. Briella Tomasetti, Good Day New York.
Well, it seems like the mayor, his head's a little bit too big. A little bit too big. He's telling the governor what the governor should do. Mayor Adams tells everyone to come to New York City. They do. All the border crossers. Then he can't take care of them all. So he's saying it's the state's fault. And the state should be distributing all these border crossers to other counties other than New York City. Mayor Adams, you don't run the fucking state. What are you talking about? It ain't up to you. Like, what? Why would he even think that that would be okay? Is that how all Democrats think, or is it just this guy? Like, just say you're stupid. Just go out there and be like, put a big label on your face. Big dummy over here. Like, that doesn't make any kind of sense. It doesn't make any kind of sense. Tell the governor what the governor should do because of choices you made. That's just terrible leadership. Period. That's all it is. It's just terrible leadership. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And then it's not just the governor's fault. It's old man Walter's fault too. He should be coming in over here and throwing some chips that way and some Red Cross blankets and a new pair of Jordans. Like, how about we don't let border crossers come here? Save all that money. Save all those resources. Help some Americans out. Problem solved. I don't know. You know, every time I see videos like this, I think a little bit more. I bet I could run this country. I bet I could do this. I bet I could fix this place. I think that every time I see this stupid shit. It's like, come on, man. Come on, man. Mayor Adams just burning down New York City by himself. Eventually, the locals in New York, the New Yorkers, the real New Yorkers, like, hey, I'm walking here, those kind of people, they're going to have enough. They're going to have enough, and it ain't going to matter blue team or red team. They're just going to handle it themselves. I believe it. I don't want bad things to happen. Let me put the disclaimer out there. I don't want anything bad to happen, but people are people, and people in New York, those are people of people right there. And if I think if enough goes down and they're hurting enough, they'll band together and they will take care of it themselves. I believe. That's what I believe. Zero, stop it. You're making too much sense. I know. They're going to end up ending my life. Hillary's going to hit me with the heart attack gun. I'm going to get that knock on the door. God, I hope not. I know one day. I feel like one day is like that is going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but I feel like it's going to. They're going to be disappointed when they realize I'm just some asshole that sits here with my cat on camera all day. I don't do anything. They're going to be so disappointed. They're going to have a hard time stringing me up on the news. Just reading through the chat really quick. We do have an extra video that I forgot that I had downloaded. It's another video I don't have a link for. I will figure it out, okay? I will figure out the links. Again, it's not about credibility, because that's the big thing about links is people want to be like, well, I want to check your sources and stuff like that, which is fine. But all these videos I don't have links for is not so much sources of information. It's more like information popping up to be analyzed and considered if it's true or not, and that's why we don't have sources for it. We'll word it like that. Either way, we'll be talking about that in a second, because in China they're making you scan your faces in order to buy groceries, and if you don't register correctly, you don't get groceries, and that'll be coming to America soon, sooner than we think. But we'll be covering that in a second. I'm gonna read through a chat really quick. Astral hammer, heart attack guns, and super low base to induce vomiting. Yep. You know, I'm really surprised that we don't hear more about audio weapons. The only thing we hear about is the LRAD, which is nothing. It's nothing in comparison to some of the ultrasonic weapons that they have in existence. What's up, Raja? Happy freedom. What's up, Hi-To? Happy freedom. Appreciate you being here. Just reading through the chat really quick. Zero Hell, Michigan. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go to hell once, you know, here in Michigan. Not the other one. Hopefully I don't end up at the other one. I'll have to go to hell, Michigan once just to say I went. Sky Bear, it's called an invasion. Yeah, we are being invaded. And they're just letting it happen, while the White House is telling everybody it's not happening. I'm trying to find the comment I seen earlier. Somebody was saying that we need to have a whole block of hooligans. Like all the hooligans just go take over an area. But I worry that we'll end up like the projects, like O Block out in Chicago or something. The police won't even come down the street. They'll be like, nah, there's just American flags and hooligans everywhere. We ain't going down those streets. Nope. Snooks, you need to go to the Uranus Fudge Factory. There really is one. Snooks, if I type this into Google and I see anything explicit, it's going to be your fault for ruining my innocence, okay? I'm going to blame you for it, Snooks. It's going to be your fault. Okay, I'm sit here and flip my chapstick in front of you hooligans. DeRosa says that we need to come out with some t-shirts. Flip your chapstick t-shirts. Do it right in front of you. D-Cat, I heard that hell was for sale. I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that at all. Kabuki, a top official at the DEA and Human Services, has called for marijuana to be rescheduled as a lower Schedule 3 drug under the Controlled Substance Act. They might. And I've been wondering if Old Man Walter is going to do that to try and get some blue team voters when the primaries come around. If he's going to reclassify marijuana and be like, look what I did, because that's what Trudeau did. Everybody wanted Trudeau out. Trudeau was like, well, I'll give you guys legal weed. And they were like, well, maybe we can let you stick around a little bit. And so he did. He legalized weed. He made it so, you know, the whole country can have it and whatever. They're working on mushrooms right now. The dispensaries up there, you can actually buy mushrooms at, like magic mushrooms and stuff like that. You can't do that here. But they did that, and then look what happened. They really regretted it. I mean, they don't regret the legal weed, but they regret having Trudeau around longer than he should have been. And I wonder if Old Man Walter is going to do the same thing. If he's going to pull the same trick. He's going to legalize weed nationwide, which won't feel any different here in Michigan or any other state that's already medicinal. But try and get the people's vote that way. And I hope it doesn't work. I really hope it doesn't work. But people love weed and they love free money. So like that's their tools to get things done, to get their agenda pushed. We'll see how it goes. Because he's going to act like a hero. Not only do people get to use it medicinally or whatever, but then people who are incarcerated for weed crimes would most likely be released. The charges would be dropped. Everybody would get time served. And they would be released. And so then he'll look like a hero. Look at all the people he let out of jail because they didn't commit a crime anymore because of the change and da-da-da-da-da. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't care if he legalizes weed or not. And I know that's controversial to say and whatever. But I just don't fall for it. You know, let Trump legalize it or something like that. Don't vote for Old Man Walter for that. You know, like we were talking about before, there's people running who are saying, oh, if you vote for me, you'll get a Best Buy a $50 gift card to try and buy your vote. That's wrong. Like we should not commercialize politics any more than it's already done. And this is just another version of that. Making promises that don't actually matter so that they'll get you to vote for them. Bribing you with some free weed. Well, it ain't free, but some legal weed. Mr. Beans and Beans, maybe you should have a stream on Twitch where you just play funny videos, bloopers, and Karen videos. I tried to play the game on Twitch once and half the subscribers left. So I don't know. I'll think about it. Mr. Beans and Beans. I don't know how much longer Twitch is going to be around. YouTube's already MySpace in themselves, so eventually I imagine that we won't even be live on YouTube. And then I think that Twitch is going to do the same thing. Because Twitch and YouTube are the only platforms that we live stream on that has communist rules. They have communist guidelines. Mr. Beans and Beans, it's not going to happen this time. We're on to this old fool. Yeah, I think he's done so much damage that you're going to need more than some legal weed to convince people to vote. Alright, we're going to move on to this next video here. This is our last video. This is going on in China. They want you to have like a digital ID of some sort in order to buy groceries. So we're going to watch this video. It's very short. I guess it's almost 2 minutes long. But we're going to watch this video and then we'll discuss it. But this is going on in China. And you know, before too long, it'll be happening here. I showed you guys a video in Portland a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where in Portland the stores have cameras and locked doors and you have to look up and face the camera and it scans your face and either they'll let you in or they won't. And that way they can, it has to do with stealing. So many people go in and loot the place that apparently they're saving images of their face, so when you stare at the camera it scans your face and sees if you're on the list. If you're on the list, they don't unlock the doors. If you're not on the list, then they let you come in and shop. That's already too much. That's too much control right there. That's already communism. This is the next step.
So the latest in this dystopian outrage that is now all of China apparently is I once again cannot buy food. A couple days ago, my uncle and my cousin helped me get a cell phone that is linked to a Chinese bank card so that I could buy anything. But now, apparently, it has been flagged for some reason, and I have to pass facial recognition identity verification, which is insane, because all I want to do is just spend my gift card balance on this debit card. I can't believe I'm doing this. I have to open my mouth. Oh my god. Terrifying. Oh. And of course, because it was my cousin who set this up for me, I did not pass verification. I guess it's a good thing that the Chinese app is not racist. But now, I once again can't buy anything.
So it wasn't only just scanning her face, it was asking her to do stuff like open her mouth and do all this other stuff. That way it can get a fair reading if it's really you or are you just holding a picture in front of the camera and stuff like that. And because she didn't register, her cousin registered for her. That means that they had scanned her cousin's face, and when she tried to use her registration and made her scan her face, it didn't pass the facial recognition because the technology is advanced enough, which isn't surprising for China. They've been doing facial scans for God only knows 50, 60 years probably. But now she can't buy groceries. She doesn't get to buy food now, and she won't be able to until she updates her registration. You shouldn't have to do that to buy groceries. And I mean, that's China, and you know whatever happens over there happens over there. It's not necessarily our problem, but it will be one day. Old man Walter loves that stuff. He loves China. That'll be us one day. If we keep letting things slide, that'll be us. We're sitting at Walmart, standing outside like doing all this goofy stuff, trying to get in so we can buy some damn overpriced cheeseburgers and stuff like that, chicken and all that. You know, it's no good. It's no good. And like I said, we had already covered a video in Portland where you got to do facial recognition just to enter the store at a gas station because stealing. So then put this all together. Crime's high, criminals don't get punished. Crime rate keeps going up. Because the crime rate's so high, things are being put behind locked glass, locked doors, or they may not even let you inside the shop itself without doing facial recognition. Eventually that'll just be everywhere. And then that'll be what the White House loves saying, the new norm. That'll be the new normal. It's necessary because crime is so high. It's necessary because people are looting so much. We have to scan your faces for your security. It's for your greater good that we need all this damn security. And it's your fault that we have to have it because you don't know how to not be a criminal. Well, isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? Take control over us and then blame us for it. That's got blue team written all over it. I don't know. We're going to get labeled as a conspiracy channel after today. All these videos I went and found. I got tired of telling you guys about it. I wanted to show you guys what I was looking at. I'll read through the chat really quick before we wrap this up. That is all the coffee I had for you hooligans today. I'm going to drop the Linktree link to all of you guys so you can use it how you wish. and you might pass. I mean, I guess don't register with the starfish. You don't want to have to pull that out at Walmart just to get in and buy some grapes. That's too much, Annette. It's too much. You got to reel it in a little bit. So I'm dropping the Linktree link to all of you guys. Take advantage of it. Of course, all of my links are listed on the Linktree, so you can find everything if you would like to donate to the live and support what we do so we can keep moving forward and keep covering content and all of that stuff. You are welcome to do so. Also, joining a membership program has its own benefits depending on where you join up. Definitely join up somewhere you hang out if you would like to support that way. Go get you a Screaming Goat t-shirt or an Orange Eagle t-shirt, free of the Orange Eagle, or a cool Bars and Stars t-shirt like I got right now. You can find the link to the merch store. We have 2 merch stores. One's got hats and patches and all kinds of crazy accessories, and then the other one has t-shirts, hoodies, things like that. Go check them both out. They're both awesome and worthwhile. But what I ask you to do, if you're not interested in supporting right now, go join Gilded. That way we are all connected. We are all networking with each other 24/7. Every single day, Hooligans keeping the conversation going, so when something new pops up, breaking news and stuff, you can be in the know of what's going on. Go join Gilded. We have a news board on there to keep you up to date with everything going on around the world. So if you don't feel like being social, there is still resources on there for you. Plus, I will notify you every time we go live. Don't worry about the hit or miss notifications coming from any of the platforms we go live on. I will notify you directly. Just go join Gilded. It is free. You can access it through computer. You can use it on your phone. I have it on my phone. That way I get notifications. It's a good way for us all to communicate and stay connected and stay in the know of what's happening. So go join Gilded. All right, Hooligans. You know what time it is. You know it's the favorite part of the day. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, we did the thing. Well, I'm going to read through the chat really quick, make sure you guys are doing good. And then we are going to wrap this up. I'm supposed to have people come work on my kitchen later today, so I don't know what's going to happen with the gaming thing. I will let everybody know who's in the gaming guild and stuff like that. We'll figure it out. I don't know if we're going live with the game or not. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Starfield is being released. I purchased Starfield with early access, so we will be live streaming Starfield 8 p.m. Eastern Time over on the gaming channel. We will be one of the very few channels live streaming it because I paid for early access. So if you would like to come hang out with us, play the game, forget the dangers of the world around us just for a couple hours, we're going to be going in on Starfield tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. When it releases, we'll be one of the first channels to show it ever to the world. And it'll be awesome. So if you'd like to join that, go join Jeff Mac Gaming at the bottom of the link tree. Or if you're a part of Kick or jeffmaclive.com, you guys can just watch it right where you are over there. That is tomorrow. I don't know about gaming tonight. I will let you guys know because the maintenance and stuff, I don't want to be here when the people are here. And I got all my cameras and stuff. So if they want to be sneaky and doing stuff, they'll be on camera in HD doing that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens tonight. Either way, I hope all of you guys have a fantastic day. Make sure you stay safe out there. We will be live tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the next Coffee with Hooligans. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Frizzy Fro for all the support. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you Hooligans, but Mr. Frizzy Fro, he's been really showing some super support. And I just want to shout you out, Mr. Frizzy Fro. You're kicking ass. Thank you so much. Big shout out to everyone that made donations, joined the membership program, or purchased any merch. I really appreciate all of you Hooligans, and I really wouldn't be able to do this without you. So thank you so much for all your support. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, stand tall, shine bright, and that's a wrap.